through right now. You were just talking to me about a competition that was going on and how the judges were being a little stringent on that. Mm-hmm. Can you walk us through kind of that whole situation as far as how it started and how that inspired you to change things?
Yeah. So we found out about this Festivus competition and the Festivus for the rest of us, and they were talking about how this competition was for everyone that's not RX people, and how it's.
This is a CrossFit competition at the time. Yeah.
We had a few athletes that wanted to participate, but they didn't know how to go about that. All right. So we reached out to the organization and said, hey, we have some adaptive athletes that are really interested in joining, but the movements that you have, they're not able to accomplish with what they're dealing with. So we presented an option for an adaptive division, and they came back and said, if the movement has to be modified from its original form, it will not count. But for an athlete like a spinal cord injury, they can't do a burpee.
Right.
So we present an alternative option that mimics the movement pattern, keeps the same stimulus. It's the same movement, but for a seated athlete.
And in CrossFit terms, this would be like just scaling the workout to an adaptive athlete, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they were saying that this isn't okay?
Yeah, they were saying that if you had to modify it, they were counted as a no rep. And that just infuriated me. Mm-hmm. Why, if they're doing work, why is it not valued? And that's what we had to fight against. They kept on going back that the
standard
and this was a national fundraiser, national competition. They didn't make the rules. And I just kept on coming back to them. I'm like, these are people that want to work. Your organization is saying this is for the rest of us. But what you're telling me now is it's not. It's not for the rest of us. It's for everyone else that's able-bodied.
Yeah, the adaptive division, did they decide just not to do an adaptive division? Because my question is, were they counting these as a no rep compared to an RX rep with an able-bodied person, or is this within the confines of an adaptive athlete? They were still saying those reps were not valued. Does that make sense?
Kind of. Yeah. They were basically saying if you had to modify it at all beyond the scale, are
we modifying an RX movement from an able-bodied person, or are we modifying an adaptive athlete's movement?
We're modifying from an RX.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, so
by definition, of course, it has to be adapted. Mm-hmm. It's an adaptive division, right?
So it was just a back and forth and trying to find what's right for them, So we made a compromise that we were going to list and go over all the movements that we had. And their big thing was they couldn't win prizes. They weren't going to be put on the national leaderboard, which is crazy. We're not asking for anything else besides just what you're doing for able-bodied. They have the algorithm. They can put the scores up. You can see who wins across the board because there's other adaptive programs that did it last year. But for some reason, there's hesitation to create an adaptive division. I don't know if it's just because they think it's more work, which it's not that much work. You're just a human being just mimicking what the able-bodied are doing.
Right.
The CrossFit Games, I looked this up. They have 3 different adaptive divisions. They have multi-extremity, then they have lower body extremity and upper body extremity, which obviously within those categories, you're talking about a pretty wide range of adaptive situations that people would have,
But within this competition, though, Kyle, I believe what Nicholas is saying is that none of those divisions were present for that competition.
Correct. What I'm asking is, because you guys are involved in this, are there a lot of competitions that happen nationally where people are being accounted for that have these, that have these accommodations met from the beginning?
I think we're getting there.
Yeah.
I think there's a big movement, and I think people are seeing adaptive athletes for what they are, athletes. Mm-hmm. And we're getting more competitions, but there's still some hesitation.
Yeah.
Iron Adaptive, can you talk us through just where this came from, where this idea came from, and how it spawned?
Our founder, Travis Neff, and Zach Craig identified a gap in services from when an athlete like Brandy goes through a traumatic life event to where physical therapy discharge says, hey, you're good. You've received all your visits from insurance, and I think we're good. If you have ever been around someone that's had a traumatic life event and you've seen their struggles, you know those visits that insurance says 20 visits is not enough. That doesn't begin to unpack the trauma from that day. And now they're in this world that is not meant for them. How do we give them back their identity? How do we give them back that hope? And that's where Iron Adaptive was formed, to work with a person from a traumatic life event to where physical therapy discharge to when they have their own adaptive life goals. Since then, it's kind of evolved. So now we have our flagship, where we really work them back to sport. Then we can really change it up to where now Brandy's working on specific goals. She wants to start powerlifting now. Mm-hmm. We have athletes that want to walk more unassisted. We have athletes that just want to be able to get up off the ground by themselves. That's their goals. So we really tailor that to what their life goals are.
That's amazing. And Brandy, you have such a powerful story. I would love if you could take some time to share. You haven't always been an adaptive athlete. How did that begin? And then tell us about your journey with Iron Adaptive and how you've gotten to become now their head trainer. Is that right?
Yeah. So I was shot 3 times last year, June 3rd.
This is just June of 2023.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, in a domestic dispute with my stepfather, and I was not supposed to make it on the scene. I lost a lot of blood. I even had the opportunity of reviewing, body cam footage and all of that, and just seeing myself lay there was kind of surreal. And I usually don't get emotional about it, but today it kind of feels a little weird. But those shots weren't intended for me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have this miraculous recovery. So I was shot 3 times. One entered my chest and collapsed my left lung. And then the other one hit my brachial artery, and that's where I lost a lot of blood. And it broke my humerus, which is the lower part of your bicep area. And then I also had a shot that went through my armpit, bounced around, broke my 3rd and 6th rib, and lodged into my T6, T7 vertebrae, and instantly paralyzed me. And from there, I realized that I got hit pretty bad. A lot of people ask me, what did it feel like to get shot? I didn't instantly feel those shots. It was a bunch of adrenaline going on. Because at the time my mom was fighting to get the gun off of my stepdad. And so I was just more so concerned about my mother's safety. And I had told her and my cousins, if anybody were to get hurt, I'd rather it be me. I don't know. So it ended up being me. And excuse me, sorry.
Take as much time as you need.
When I was lying there, I heard him say, you're next, to my mom. And from that moment, I knew I was about to, I knew I was about to fade and allow myself to die. It's a feeling that I don't know how to put into words, and I've been trying to figure out how to put into words for the last year and a half. But I just remembered I had my phone in my pocket, and I pulled it out and I called 911. And as soon as they picked up, I said my address twice, and I said, hey, my stepfather shot me. And from there, I just faded out because I didn't want to leave this earth without knowing that my mom would get help in some way. So I called 911. I remember coming to in the ambulance, and I just remember waking up. It's like a movie. I tell everybody that when I lost consciousness in the garage where I got shot, it was almost as if I feel like I did die because I felt no pain. I was in this dark space. Like, it was a black space, black room, pitch black, as if you know, close your eyes and no lights are on. It was weird because I was aware. I was conscious that, you know, I was walking around. I don't have a miraculous story like, oh, I saw the light come to me or somebody came to me. It's just I was walking around. I didn't feel any pain. I didn't hear anything. I remember coming to in the ambulance, and all I did was, the first thing I asked was, where's my mom? They told me she was okay, she was alive, that she was at the station. Then my next question is, how much longer do we have? Because I'm not going to make it. And they just told me to just keep talking to them. So I told them I'm a registered nurse. And that's all that I could think about, you know, just saying whatever came to my mind. But I was mostly concerned about, like, where's my mom? I just kept asking that and saying, like, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. So we finally rolled into the trauma bay. And it's ironic because I was an emergency room nurse, and I used to work here in Kansas City down at Truman. And so I used to circulate traumas all the time. And it just was weird how life came full circle. And now I'm that trauma patient. And I always had that big fear working as a trauma nurse. Like, what would happen or what would I do if I was in this situation? And I never thought I'd be in this situation. But I think that's what saved me too, is having that
experience.
Yeah. Because most people in my position, and you know, they get shot. Your first thing is not to pull out your phone and call 911. You're in shock. You don't know what to do. You don't have much time. But when I was in the trauma bay, I remember them, you know, yelling out things and doing their assessments. And one of the things that they said is, we're going to need more PRBCs and FFPs, and that's blood products. So I knew I was losing a lot of blood. And I was like, are y'all doing massive transfusion on me?
That's one bad thing about, you know, being a nurse is
Knowing
if they
too
said that
much.
around me, I'd be like, I don't know what that is. That's good.
Yeah.
For you were like, I know exactly what that means.
Exactly. And I was like, are y'all doing MTP on me? And that's massive transfusion protocol. And they were like, yeah. And I was like, oh, you know, and I yelled an explicit. And I just knew I was bad off then. They told me, you know, hey, can you feel this? Can you wiggle your toes? And as soon as I did that, I was like, okay, I'm doing it. I was like, is it doing it? And they were like, no. I just totally lost it. And they're like, okay, we're going to give you something to, you know, relax. I knew it was bad because I immediately yelled out, like, I'm paralyzed. I told y'all I'm paralyzed. And I don't know what medication they gave me. It was most likely, it was probably Ativan that they gave me. And I remember one of the nurses, Sarah, at Centerpoint. She held my hand. She was one of the circulating nurses, and I told her, I was like, hold my hand. I was looking for that human connection because I felt myself dying. I wish I had the words to explain like what that feels like, but I don't. And I just felt like if she held my hand, maybe I could stay alive a little longer. And she was like, I can't hold your hand right now, but I got to put an IV in. And I was like, okay, do it, but hold my hand and don't let go. She held my hand. And then, you know, after I was screaming I'm paralyzed, like, I don't remember anything after that because they quickly got me to the CT scanner, and that's where they found out, like, oh, she, you know, retained a bullet. And yeah, I woke up in the ICU. I think I was in the ICU for like a week, but I woke up on the maybe third day I was there. Still intubated, still sedated. People said that I was like up and active. You know, I had a whole lot of visitors, but I don't remember any of that. I just remember the day that they extubated me. And my mom kept all my little notes that I was writing. I was still acting as a nurse. Like, it's crazy how the brain works. I was still acting as a nurse, you know, looking up at the monitors, writing down, like, why is my blood pressure high? Or why is this? Or what is this? And, you know, directing my care. I didn't know how to chill out.
Sure.
But it just felt like a movie. And so 6 days later, I moved my right big toe, and they're like, okay, you know, my family getting excited, but I'm still kind of like, okay, what does this mean? Like, I have hope, but I don't want to have too much hope.
Sure.
So they called in the neurologist, and, you know, he was like, I moved it for him. Like, I told him, I was like, watch. I did it. And he was like, yeah, still low chance of getting any type of feeling or movement back. So at this point, I'm paralyzed from the chest down. And, you know, I'm thinking to myself, like, what is life supposed to look like? Because I don't want to live like this. But I also wasn't taking no as an answer. And I just kept saying, like, nah, I'm going to walk. I'm going to walk. I had a Beyonce concert to go to. I had to go walk. Like, that next month, July 23rd, I had bought tickets to see Beyonce in Chicago, where I was living. And I was like, I got to go. Like, I paid too much for those tickets. Luckily, my body followed suit, and I was able to, you know, attend. But that experience, just being a nurse in general, and like going down for all the surgeries, and like by the time I was like off of sedation and stuff, I remember going down for, I think, my 5th surgery. One of the anesthesiologists came in, you know, pre-op, and was like, oh, I see a paraplegia on there. And I was like, I don't know who you're talking about. I said, that's not me. I said, I'm gonna walk. And she was like, okay, if you say so, then I believe you. I had the opportunity to go back to Centerpoint about 5 months after my injury, and they had a great save event, and I was able to meet the first responders that came to the scene, and I was able to meet all the crew that, you know, my healthcare team that helped me beyond rehab. And I saw that anesthesiologist, and I was like, remember I said I was going to walk? And nobody knew at that time that I was walking again, or at least taking steps. So I wheeled in there, you know, when they introduced me and said my name and all that. I wheeled up, and I took my arm crutches, and I started walking, and everybody was like, oh my God. It was so cool. And I saw her, and I was like, remember me? And she just started crying. The whole room just flooded with tears. And it was a really emotional moment. It was really cool to meet the first responders there too, because I wanted to meet them. I still haven't been able to meet the police officers that responded to the team, because I just haven't been able to catch them. But
Was it the nurse Sarah that held your hand?
I met her. Yeah, Sarah.
That was cool.
She came up to visit me in the ICU, and this time I was still kind of on, I was still intubated and on sedation, so I remembered her a little bit. But then, at the actual event, like, I was able to ask her all these questions, and I was like, so, what was it like? Like, she was like, it was pretty bad. And she was like, and when you asked me what your MAP was, and that's the mean arterial pressure, it measures, how much perfusion your body's getting, like blood to your vital organs. She was like, when you asked what your MAP was, I was like, oh, she's a nurse, or she's in healthcare. And I was like, yeah. She was like, yeah, your MAP was way below 50. And what you wanted is 70 or above. So yeah, death was knocking on my door. And it's weird. I feel so dramatic when I say that, because I'm just a really chill person. But I'm here. I'm walking. Granted, it's not the best walk that I want it to be, but it's a lot more progressive than what anyone thought.
Do you have a background in like sports or competition or anything like that?
I used to play basketball.
Yeah.
I didn't play in college. I just played intramurals in college because I was in nursing school, and I kind of was like, well, that's gonna be tough trying to keep up that schedule with clinicals and stuff. But yeah, I used to play basketball, and in high school, like I ran track and stuff like that. So I had an athletic background, and then even, you know, going forth after undergrad, I stayed in the gym, and, you know, that was one of my stress relievers. So they said that played a huge role in my recovery too.
Yeah, I was guessing that they would probably say that, because it seemed like as soon as you had the opportunity to basically tell somebody, I'm going to walk again, you basically did.
Yeah.
And that, you know, even though you said you're a chill person, that usually is only going to come from somebody who's had some competition in their life, you know.
Yeah. And, you know, it's weird because it's like I took it as a challenge. Yeah. It was a competition for me. I was like, okay, so y'all telling me I'm not going to walk? Well, let's see how fast I can walk, you know?
Do you get to talk to the neurologist and be like, hey, dude, what's up?
I have not been, I really want to meet that.
It feels like that's the guy that was the only doubter of the whole thing.
No,
the guy that knew the most about it, supposedly.
Yeah, I really want to meet that guy. I don't know his name. I've looked through my records and stuff, and I haven't been able to catch who it was, but I definitely have plans on going back up there and being like, yo,
yeah,
remember, you know? I think
he'd be like, I knew it all along. I just was trying to give you extra motivation.
right. But I think that's a thing that people with traumatic injuries that end up paralyzed, they get told all the time. And, you know, some do get the opportunity or blessed to walk again. But to just straight come out the gate and be like, nah, there's never a chance. Like, you know, that hurts. Mm-hmm. And it shakes up your world.
We had some awesome guests on just a couple weeks ago. Onward, is that what they're calling it? Yep.
Oh yeah.
Onward Physical Therapy.
Yeah, we met with those guys.
They're great dudes.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? It seems to be super common. We hear it so often. This is just all of, you know, anecdotally. I don't have any real data, but we just get told so often that, you know, the doctor told me I'd never walk again, or the doctor told me I'd never play this sport again, or I would never throw a baseball again. Yeah. And I'm like, man, all I ever hear is about people who prove them wrong.
Oh yeah.
I just feel like they're so quick to tell you that. Why? Yeah. Why is it so fast for a doctor to tell you that?
Yeah. I mean,
why steal the hope right off the bat like that? You know,
I guess to cover themselves, you know, you don't want to give false hope, but that at the same time, from a nursing perspective, I feel like, yeah, you don't want to say like, oh yeah, you are going to walk again and give that person false hope, and then they come back and be like, you said I was going to walk.
Sure.
But I still feel like there's some way that we can still kind of instill some confidence in recovery. Period.
I would
doesn't have to be walking. You
yeah.
know?
If I was a doctor and I would say, you know, hey, 80% of people aren't able to walk after this, and 20% are, and that's just the raw statistics of it, I'd be like, all right, there's 20% hope, you know, and that way you're not like making people feel either.
Give me the stats. Even if it's 99%, give me the one.
Yeah.
You know? And that would be amazing if it's presented that way, because getting told you're never going to walk again, like when just yesterday you were walking, like I have the footage of me, you know, walking for the last time, like properly walking. And it's like, damn, I can't do that anymore. Or it's even weirder because in your head, you're like, I know how to walk. Well, why is my body not doing it? And so even just the little things of like, I had to learn how to sit on the edge of the bed again and just sit up. And I remember in the ICU, the first time that physical therapy came and got me to the edge of the bed, my first thought was, if this is how recovery is going to go, like, please take me out. Like, I don't want to do this. It's so hard. I cried. It felt like I don't even know.
Like, I can only imagine. I mean, like, it feels like you'd be like at the bottom of a mountain looking up at it and being like, dude, I don't want to climb this shit.
For real. Like
God.
I have no words to explain how that felt. Like, I just know that I was like, if this is how it's about to be, I want to check out, because I can't keep doing this, and the amount of pain that just came with it. It was horrible. But I took it to the chin, and every day they said physical therapy's here. I dreaded it until it got better and better. And I was like, okay, now I'm looking forward to it. Now it's like, okay, when am I moving into acute rehab? I'm ready to go. Let's get it. Yeah.
You move into, I want to segue this into how you got into Iron Adaptive. Tell me how that transition went from you learning how to walk again to now becoming a trainer yourself.
Yeah, so I was doing Ability KC physical therapy after I got discharged from the hospital. And after that, I actually did Disabled But Not Really's Help Me Fit Challenge.
Shout out Wes Hamilton, former guest here. Disabled But Not Really is his charity.
Yep. And that was a 12-week program, but 8 weeks for fitness. And in between that, I'm like, okay, so now I'm done with here. What's next? I felt like if I didn't have any type of like structured program, then I wouldn't know what my progress would look like. And I was really scared of like losing any progress. And so I just Googled adaptive training programs in Kansas City, and Iron Adaptive came up. And it's weird because I had went to the Ability Summit, like, what was that? It was some, like August of last year, August of last year. And I met Nick. And we spoke. I wrote down my, information and all that. But for whatever reason, I was like, they're going to charge me to train. I don't have the money right now. Like, I'm not working and I'm still waiting on, Social Security. But I was led back to them, obviously doing that Google search. And I hit up Nick and I was like, look, I'm looking for something. I need this structure. And, this is my injury. He hit me back, and then I saw that Travis was one of the founders, and Travis was actually my PT back in high school in 2011 and 2012. I had torn my ACL twice, so my legs really never had a chance. I was like, he's not going to believe this. And so the first day when I met up with Nick and Travis, I was like, yeah, bro. I don't know what to tell you. I can't stay away. But Iron Adaptive has actually increased my confidence a ton. Just being empowered by Nick, especially like me and Nick have grown to have this very close relationship, and not only through just doing like physical fitness, but being able to just open up to him about my story. I don't even know if we spoke immediately about my story. It kind of took me a while because I was a little closed off about it, and there were still some things going on. But one day I think I just came into the gym and my energy was just off, and he read me like a book. He's like, what's going on? And I think that's just the point where I started opening up, and I realized, he's here for me, not just for, training, and he's my friend. And I think that's the best part about Iron Adaptive is that community aspect. 'Cause I even made some friends with other, adaptive athletes that were going to the gym with me at KC Rehab. Then I went down to Dallas for ATF, and shout out to Nick and Travis for getting me, hip to them and applying for that program because I came back a beast.
What's ATF for our listeners?
Adaptive Training Foundation. Yep, they're down in Dallas. They work with adaptive athletes, people with traumatic injuries, as well as veterans and first responders. But did their 10-week program and killed it down there. And I was like, we got to bring that back here, that energy back here to Kansas City. And so when I came back, I hooked up with Travis and Nick, and I'm like, let's do it. And Nick was like, we'll bring you on the team. And at first I'm like, oh my God, what does that look? What does that look like? But I enjoy doing my role as marketing and outreach. Also do the social media. That was my thing before. When I got injured, I was heavily interested in social media and just digital creation, graphic design, DJing, stuff like that. So I found my lane, in addition to helping with adaptive athletes, because my passion just kind of grew with that.
Nicholas, you mentioned that, Brandy, you just recently did some work with Jimmy from Mr. Beast. Mm-hmm. What was that about?
So he interviewed me, basically just telling my story. It was part of helping Adaptive Training Foundation get some funding, and it was pretty awesome. So if you Google or go on YouTube and check out the video, you'll be able to hear my story in a little bit more detail. They actually did like a whole little animation for my part of the story. Yeah, I was one of 5 athletes that got interviewed.
Were they able to raise a lot of money?
Last I checked, I think so. I know for part of the video, they were throwing a football to Dave because Dave Vobora is a retired NFL athlete, and he's the founder. And so I think if he caught a couple of football passes, they would give him $50,000. So I think they raised some money from there. And then I hadn't checked back to see, like, on the video how much had been fundraised.
I hope he's got good hands.
Yeah, great hands, because he did get some money. But I was going through the comments actually just to see like what people were saying, because I had never been on that big of a platform before, and it's kind of like, yeah, it's like, wow. Looking at that little animation, just telling my story. I was looking through the comments, and one person had pointed out, I hope that this young lady is living a happy, fulfilling life. And I saw that comment, and I replied back, and I was like, I am. I've been blessed ever since. So I thought that was beautiful.
Very much so, yeah. I have a lot of respect for how Mr. Beast goes about raising awareness and being able to raise money and changing a lot of people's lives.
Yeah, for sure.
Uses his platform for a lot of good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You guys have done a great job illustrating kind of where you came from, Brandy, but also just where the value from Iron Adaptive has helped so many. What is your guys' plans moving forward, Nicholas? If you don't mind me asking, just what is like your ideal next few years look like for Iron Adaptive, and how can we help?
So our goal, for the next few years is just to build our athletes, be able to reach out to more people, provide more trainers so we have more athletes that are able to use our services. We're going to continue to reach out to other nonprofits, show how Kansas City is this great place for adaptive training, that we have an amazing community that is willing to work together, and we're able to rise together.
When you say build athletes, so just so our listeners are 100% on this, are you guys, like with High Rocks or with CrossFit or with, all these, even marathons, are you guys, when you have an athlete and they have a goal like that, are you guys specifically designing the training so that they can compete in those type of events? Is that primarily when you say build athletes, what we're talking about?
Yeah, so we have our initial flagship. Like when Brandy left post-acute therapy, we were like, where are you? You're done, but where do you want to be?
Mm-hmm.
So the initial program is to get them back to sport, to get them where they're confident enough and we're able to start pushing those boundaries and start working towards those goals. Once they've graduated from that program, then we go to a more goal-oriented training.
Yeah.
Now that program is tailored to them. Whatever they have in their life.
Could be powerlifting.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that. So my initial goal was to want to walk a little better and like get my balance together and walk unassisted. And I'm still working on the walking unassisted part. I do a good job, but I battle with tone, which is basically my quadricep, kind of like it prevents me from getting that left leg up a little bit because it's still contracting when it's supposed to relax.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Travis there trying to get me, to fight that tone and get my legs up. But like I said, my initial goal was to walk better. Once I got to that goal and I started walking better, then this meathead over here started taking over and was like, let's start lifting. And I'm like, okay. So we started lifting. And then, we started progressing to adding weight because at first it was just the bar and now we're adding weight. So I'm like, okay. And then I went down to ATF and I PR'd deadlift 275.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Holy heck.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Hey,
Congrats.
just think about that. That is a spinal cord injury.
That was like a year ago.
Yeah.
Less than that.
Yeah, spinal cord injury. She has a bullet lodged in there that moves, that irritates her, that changes her pain threshold. That she was able to go down there and get into a deadlift position and lift that off the ground.
Yeah. And then at the end of the class, my whole class got onto a sled tank. That's what it's called, right? Sled tank. And it was about 11 of my classmates on there, or 10 of them, and plus my trainers. So it was well over a ton. And I pushed that all the way down the turf. I flipped a 300-pound tire 3 times. That was a PR for me.
Let's go.
I learned how to jump.
Cool.
You know, that was one of the things that I thought I could never do again is jump. So I'm getting off the ground now.
One thing, so the bullet is still in your back.
It's still there.
It's going to be there forever?
It's gonna be there forever.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's too dangerous. It's probably too risky to try and go in and try and remove it.
So that's what I was told initially. And then I just actually had a doctor's visit and they tested my blood lead levels. And it's at like a 14. They get concerned when it gets to 30. So every 3 months at that point, you know, you kind of want to watch those levels. But how deep my bullet is, it's like if they go in and try to get it, they might
Make things
paralyze
worse.
me. Yeah. I can actually, like, if you guys wanted to see a picture of the bullet, like, I can send it to you. And
Yeah,
it's pretty
let's see
gnarly. The bullet, yeah, it's still there, and it's very close to my heart cavity too. So, it's a little tricky. But to go back
A lot tricky.
yeah, to go back to the initial question with like, what our goals are, like it moves with the athlete. So I initially wanted to walk better. Okay, I'm walking better. Now I'm like, hey, hit up JP. Let's do some powerlifting. I want to start training to maybe be in the Paralympics. You know, I didn't know that was a possibility for me.
So we're talking about JP over at Strong Barbell Club.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, amazing guy. We talked earlier. He does an amazing work for Special Olympics.
Yeah. He just officiated my wedding.
Was he really?
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's one of my best friends.
he's amazing. He has a great facility down there, and
He's a great human, but he also looks out for people that need to be looked out for, which I really appreciate about him. And it'd be awesome to see you guys working together. That'd be cool.
Yeah. And that's the thing about that I also want to share about Iron Adaptive that was really great for me to learn, and why I didn't initially like act on it after I met with Nick at the Ability Summit the first time I went there. We are tuition free. We totally thrive off of donations and sponsorships. Neither of us take a paycheck. We do this because we're passionate about it. And I know that since I became an adaptive athlete, you know, and have my own experience, I want to empower those other people to do so too. Because just a little tidbit, when I was down at Adaptive Training Foundation for my program, I was really big on trying to build that community with my classmates. And so I was like, hey, how many of y'all went to a amusement park since your injury? And half of them hadn't. And some of them were really scared and didn't think that that was a possibility. So I orchestrated a trip to Six Flags. And I was like, we're going to do it. And because I had went to Worlds of Fun 4 months after my injury. Nothing was stopping me. And so I knew, like, if I can do it, they can do it too. And so, you know, we got to Six Flags, and initially we had a hiccup here where I had done my research about, you know, their ADA and, you know, what we need to do as far as checking in, letting them know, like, who's got what kind of injury, what rides we need to ride. And at first, the first ride we went to, they denied us because one of my buddies was a left arm amputee. I think Danny's left arm. And I was like, no, we read on your website that you guys provide harnesses. So, like,
I'd like one of those harnesses, please.
Yeah, exactly. And so I held them to the fire basically and was like, no, like, you guys need to provide those things. And they're like, well, we don't have harnesses at every ride. And I'm like, so how is it that we're going to be able to go to rides and, you know, experience this fun like everybody else if you guys don't provide harnesses at every ride? Oh, you'll just have to read, you'll just have to read the sign to see if you can ride or not. Well, if I've wheeled my way from the beginning of the park all the way to the end for one specific ride, and then I come and find out that I can't ride that ride, what good does that do me? You know? So eventually we had somebody come and was our escort for the entire time that we were there. And every time we wanted to ride a ride, they radioed, hey, we need to bring that harness, you know, here with us. And that was the point. That was the point where I was able to educate them on how to deal with people with disabilities or, you know, just wheelchair users, amputees, anybody, because they're not visible. Like, we're not visible in those type of spaces. Mm-hmm. And so I understood why there was some confusion and why, like, you know, there was hesitancy, but there are programs in place with your, you know, corporation. So you got to learn how to apply them. And I'm going to make sure that you learn to apply them. So for next time, so next time you see somebody that looks like me in my situation, you're going to know how to do it already.
And give them a warmer welcome than you gave me.
Exactly.
I feel like a lot of people, when it comes to anybody who has any kind of disability, the vast majority of people want to help, but a lot of them feel like, how do I help? Mm-hmm. Right? Because they don't want to make the person feel like they're incapable of doing it on their own, but they also want to show them like, hey, I'm also aware of your, you know, situation and I want to be here to help.
Right.
So I could see how there's a lot of people that it didn't sound like that guy, because that guy sounded like he was a jerk. Like, no, we don't have that harness.
Yeah.
But I feel like that in most situations, that's what people are trying to do. And something that Wes brought up to us when he was on the podcast with us was he's like, man, honestly, just a lot of places don't have the necessary things there that I need to help me, you know? So people could be cool, but like, it doesn't really matter if they don't have, I think he was talking about like a shower that, you know, was specific.
Oh, dude, him getting on the plane.
Oh, yeah.
Plane such a tough situation.
I remember before I had movement in my legs, I needed assistance on the plane when I went to the concert. And I had on I call them my Forrest Gump braces, but they're like my knee, ankle, foot brace. And they're these big chunky things. I needed assistance going from my chair to the aisle chair, and then from the aisle chair into a seat. They wanted to help, but did not know how to help. And it's like, well, why do you guys have these policies and you don't practice them or like implement them? Like, there should be some type of...
Yeah, no one's holding anybody accountable.
At all. And it's frustrating. And that's why, specifically with that Six Flags trip, that was my way of advocating for people with disabilities. Like, we need to be seen in these spaces so that other people know how to deal with, you know, or not deal with, other people know how to interact with us.
Yeah. I think that's, you know,
empower all the guests.
The fact that, you know, he's like, well, we just don't have those, right? It's more a telling sign that we just don't have a lot of people that are coming to ride this ride that have a disability.
Yeah.
And I think that's just purely, it's not like the ride, you know, it's not like they wouldn't want to go to Six Flags. They just, like you were saying, a lot of them just think, that's not for me. That's not where. That's not for me anymore.
It is that way. Like, they don't think that it's possible for them to enjoy those things that they did pre-injury. Mm-hmm. You can enjoy a lot of things that you did pre-injury. You just have to figure out a way how to adapt. That's the whole purpose.
You going out of your way though to go through all of that hassle, you know, and continuing to stand up for those who have a hard time with that. I'm just saying it's such a, I don't know. I just think it's very wonderful that you go out of your way to do that and go through that stressful situation, because the next time that, you know, someone comes around, that guy's going to handle that situation 10 times better.
Absolutely.
That's what you're going to say. I'm sorry.
So we talk a lot about this with every athlete, and we talk a lot about this in my household. We can't hide from our disability, right? People like Wes, they went out there and then they said, hey, this is who I am. This is what I need. All right. We talk about not hiding from your disability, getting out there and showing the world, because how are you guys supposed to know how these athletes need to be or what the compromises is if we stay at home?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
Everything stays the same that way.
Yeah. Your home is safe. I have a kid with special needs. I know how safe I feel at home, but by hiding at home, the world can't adjust to us. So we talk about getting out there. That's why we have social events through Iron Adaptive and other nonprofits, is because we want the community to see our athletes, not as adaptive athletes, but as people. You can't do that if you're hiding. So people like Wes, people like Brandy that go out there and do the hard work, that's what we want to encourage, because this world doesn't change if we hide.
Yeah.
Your guys' story is so powerful. I want to make sure that we're getting as many people to you as possible. What's the best way for our listeners to interact with Iron Adaptive? Social media handles, any of those things, and best way they can get a hold of you guys.
So, yeah, we do have Instagram. It's iron_adaptive_training. We also have a Facebook page. Just type in Iron Adaptive Training. And then, let's see, we're not on X. We should create an X account. But, I mean, I feel like it's more powerful to have imagery. I also created a TikTok that's Iron Adaptive on there. And then our website is ironadaptive.org. On there you can see where we talk about who we are, what we do, our mission. And then we also have a page where you can donate if you find, that this aligns with what you want to donate to. But I have to update some more because there's a lot of things that I'd like to include, especially from the hyper camp that we just did with Adaptive Training Foundation. Was that 2 weeks now?
Yeah, that was amazing. And I don't know, I know Thatcher knew about it, and you guys had some people come out, but that was truly an amazing event. We had 11 athletes from all over the Kansas City area, all with different pathologies. And we basically put them through a 7-day intensive boot camp from 8:30 to 3. We worked these athletes.
Oh, cool.
Very awesome.
And
Let's shout out the gym that you guys used as well.
So we used the amazing staff at Inside the Edge Baseball Performance. They donated their space. They were amazing to work with, very accommodating. Anything we needed, they got it done.
That's awesome.
That's wonderful.
And the amazing thing about this program, like Brandy said, and we partnered with the Adaptive Training Foundation. They sent up their programmers. And, man, these athletes from day one, they just leaned in. They were vulnerable. They were invested, and they got after it. So many times they questioned, could I do this? Never once did they back down.
It's awesome.
And
and
pushing past
that's
their
what
limits.
made the camp so successful. It wasn't just the legwork that we did in the background, to set it up. It was the athletes that made that camp incredible. All of them came with that "you can't tell me nothing" type of attitude. And even if they were kind of hesitant on something or a workout, they found a way to adapt. And that's the whole purpose of why we're here, is helping you figure out how to adapt to anything in life.
then give you also the tools to go on and do this by yourself. Now, we really want to empower these athletes to take control and accountability of their fitness goals. Now, we want to give them the tools, but at the end of the day, I say this, that not a lot of trainers appreciate me saying this. I want to get them to the point where they don't need me anymore.
Right. Graduate.
I don't want to see them in 20 years doing the same thing we're doing. I want to see them going on and breaking those ceilings and challenging the idea that some doctor said you couldn't do this.
Yeah.
Screw that doctor. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let someone put a limitation on me before I try it. And so we want to empower these athletes to go out and have the tools to show the world you can. And just maybe there's another person that was in your situation that they've been told that day that they can't do this. And they maybe happen to see a video of Brandy jumping. A spinal cord injury, just take that in for account. A spinal cord injury is jumping.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That
just happened, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we want to do. We want to empower athletes to go out and show this world that, hey, I don't care what happened to me. That's not my future. Not unless I mark it off. And we want to give them the tools and the empowerment to do that.
Man, you guys are some of the best people. We really, really appreciated having you on today. The floor is yours. If there's anything else you want to let people know about Iron Adaptive, We want to give you, one last shout out. Anything you guys can think of that want to let the people know, please let them know.
If you're looking to donate and support our mission, we are 100% tuition free for our athletes. Me coming from a caregiver standpoint, I know how much extra people that live with disability have to pay, how much their pay is less. So we don't feel the right to charge, right? But we also have overhead. We're looking to bring on more trainers so we can reach more. So if you're looking to donate or want to help out with our mission, go to our website and make that change.
Yeah, and another goal we have is to have our own facility as well, because being disabled is very expensive, very expensive. A lot of equipment, especially speaking as a spinal cord injury, a lot of the equipment that I feel should be essential and covered by insurance is not. That some of these gyms that work with spinal cord injuries, or like facilities that work with spinal cord injuries have, but you may run out of your visits, or you may not have the money to, join one of those facilities to work with. Like, for example, an FES bike, which is a electrical stimulation bike, helps contract your muscles to do their proper function. The exoskeleton, that's something that is important in helping people, reprogram their nerves, how to, walk again. Even just things like a wheelchair, treadmill. People don't know that that's a thing. That would be helpful in, wheelchair users that need that cardio. Donating will help us get those type of equipments in, as well as allowing our trainers to continue the education to provide more and more things.
Programs and services.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We want to continue to be able to offer new and exciting programs and opportunities for these adaptive athletes to come out and have a community and have a place that they know that, hey, this is my community. We're going out, or there's a place for us.
Yep.
I also wanted just to bring up, if there's other nonprofits that are looking to partner up or want to get together, we want to highlight and we want to empower our community. So we're looking for other groups to work with. Any way we can bring resources to Kansas City.
Yeah, we're better together than apart. So, and that's my biggest thing. I would love to collaborate with any organization that is willing. We're always looking for ways to, expand and let people know that we're here and that these resources are out there.
Phenomenal.
Perfect.
Thank you guys so much for your time today. Thank you for sharing your inspiring stories.
Thank you.
And we look forward to talking with you guys again soon.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good one.
Bye. Very good, you guys.